God and Jesus Christ, and that Jesus Christ came to show us a way to peace and abundance for all. There was a season on my journey with God where I kept saying, Lord, I surrender. But deep inside, I was still resisting reality. I was resisting pain, change, loss, uncertainty, and God showed me something powerful. You cannot truly surrender to God while you are still fighting what already is. Because surrender is not weakness. Surrender is trust. And trust begins with acceptance. I had to learn that before God could fully move in my life, I first had to come to a place of inner surrender. A neutral place. A place where I stopped wrestling with life long enough to hear His voice clearly. So many of us are exhausted because internally we are arguing with reality every single day. This should not have happened. That should not have been. They should not have left. I should have been further ahead. My life should look different. And while our minds are fighting the present moment, our spirit cannot fully rest in God. But Jesus taught me something very different. When Jesus prayed in the garden before the crucifixion, He showed humanity what surrender looks like. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus says, Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. Jesus acknowledged His pain. He acknowledged the difficulty. He acknowledged the reality of what was before Him. But then comes acceptance, and acceptance created the doorway for surrender. Notice something powerful. Jesus did not pretend the cup was easy. He did not deny His emotions. He did not bypass the human experience. He accepted what was unfolding, and through acceptance He aligned Himself with the will of God. That lesson changed my life, because many people think surrender means becoming passive, but surrender is actually alignment. It is when you finally say, God, I may not understand this season, but I trust you within it. Acceptance creates stillness, and stillness allows God to speak. But many times God cannot guide us because fear is louder than faith. Control is louder than wisdom. Resistance is louder than peace. But when you reach acceptance, something inside you shifts. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you begin asking, God, what are you teaching me through this? That is maturing in the Spirit. Jesus constantly taught humanity about surrender to the Father. In Matthew 6, Jesus says, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. That scripture is deeper than many people realize, because worry is resistance to trust. Worry says, I must control the future to feel safe. But surrender says, God is already in my tomorrow. Acceptance brings you into the present moment with God. And many people cannot hear God because they are trapped in fear about the future or pain from the past. But God exists in the eternal now. And when you become present, when you stop fighting every emotion, when you stop resisting every lesson, peace begins to enter your spirit. I had to learn that acceptance does not mean agreeing. I had to learn that acceptance does not mean agreeing. I had to learn that acceptance does not mean agreeing with evil. It does not mean becoming comfortable with suffering. It means acknowledging where you truly are, so God can begin transforming you from there. Because denial blocks healing. Some people say they trust God, but they cannot even accept the truth about themselves. They cannot accept their wounds, their fears, their addictions, their pride, their grief. But healing begins with honesty. Jesus said in John, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Truth brings freedom, and acceptance is the doorway to truth. The enemy wants humanity trapped in resistance because resistance keeps people emotionally reactive and spiritually unstable. But acceptance creates neutral ground. and neutral ground is powerful, because in that space you are no longer reacting from fear. You are no longer blind by emotion. You become available for God to move. That is where wisdom begins. That is where peace begins. That is where moments on my journey where God allowed situations I did not understand. Relationships ended, doors closed, old identities fell away. And I kept trying to force things back together because the human mind fears change. But eventually God showed me, what if the pain is not punishment? What if it is preparation? That changed everything for me, because surrender often requires the death of the old self, and the old self will resist transformation. The ego wants control, the spirit wants truth, and many times God will bring you into seasons where you can no longer rely on your own understanding. Why? Because Proverbs says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Sometimes your understanding is the very thing blocking your faith. Sometimes surrender means saying, God, I do not have all the answers, but I trust where you are leading me. And trust grows through acceptance. Even Jesus accepted seasons of waiting. Before his ministry fully began, he spent time in the wilderness. And many of us want resurrection without the wilderness, purpose without preparation, calling without surrender. But God shapes people in hidden places. He teaches us to let go, to release control, to stop forcing, to stop striving endlessly, and instead to walk with him. One of the deepest forms of surrender is accepting that God's timing is wiser than our own. That can be difficult for the human heart, because we want immediate answers, immediate breakthroughs, immediate certainty. But faith often means walking without seeing the full picture. In Hebrews it says, faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. Real surrender says, even when I cannot see the full path, I will continue walking with God. And when you reach that place, fear begins to lose power over you. Because peace is born from trust. Today, many people are emotionally exhausted because they are carrying battles God never asked them to carry. Trying to control everyone, trying to predict everything, trying to force outcomes. But Jesus taught simplicity. He taught trust, presence. He taught connection with the Father. And perhaps true surrender is not about becoming less human, but becoming more aligned with divine truth. Acceptance is not giving up. It is opening your hands long enough for God to place something greater inside them. And sometimes the greatest prayer is not, God, change everything around me. Sometimes the greatest prayer is, God, teach me how to trust you within this moment. Because when acceptance enters the heart, resistance leaves. And when resistance leaves, peace enters. And where peace enters, God can finally begin his deepest work. So, I hope you found this video informative today. Wishing everyone a magical day. God bless.